How are you doing tonight? Just getting everything all set up. Hopefully on my iPad it kicks in soon. Hi Cynthia. Aw, enjoy your vacation. I hope you're having a great time. Hi Arnetta. So literally it just started thundering. So I'm like, okay, if it gets too crazy with lightning, I'll hop off. I mean, thankfully in the city, like it's different from when I was growing up where it's like, okay, if there's lightning, like don't take a shower and it could hit here with all the buildings. It's more rare, but I still get like freaked out about it. So we'll see. Right now it's just thundering and it's like kind of in the distance. Hey Mary Lou, how are you doing? Steamy hot Martha's Vineyard. I bet it is disgusting in New York right now. I mean, I guess I can't complain. Better than snow, but it's been super super hot. It's the humidity, um, but it felt like it was going to storm all day, and you saw like crazy clouds, and now it's finally getting here. So yeah, so tonight I plan on putting this the rest of this together. This is the puff quilt that I worked on last week. I have the 5 rows. I bought a whole bunch of polyfill. I've been cutting out some class kits this week, so I haven't done much actual sewing. So yeah, my plan is to try to finish this tonight. So I bought a giant bag of polyfill. This would make, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 puff quilts. And so I'm just gonna keep it like on my lap or on the floor and just grab from it as I go. Alright, and so I also grabbed the bottom row. So when I'm putting my rows together, I like working from the bottom because I like to only stuff one row at a time. So that's what I'm gonna start doing. I'm gonna start stuffing them. So Mary Lou, I have ordered, I'll grab it in a second. I have ordered from Mormino her waterproof cotton, 2 floral prints. One is like the green with daisies, and then it's like one that has white and purple and such. That fabric and matching webbing is coming in this week. So that is going to be 2 options, and then I've been cutting some that are like my own water resistant canvas. So far I've cut out one of the flamingos, but I have enough that I can make more if people like them. I have 2 of the sunflower kits cut out, and I also ordered from Lauren not just the waterproof cotton but her water resistant canvas. So I ordered colors that will match. And this is another waterproof canvas. This one is from Oh So Lovely, and I had one of their, it was like a yard print, and half of it was the mushrooms, and then the other half had 2 different colors of water resistant canvas. So this is the blue that came with it. I only had enough fabric to cut one of these. So my plan is I hope to have like a whole bunch of options, that there's something for everybody. And right now, oh, the sunflowers, yes, I have sunflowers. I cut them out in the water resistant canvas, but I'm also gonna give the option of the Majestic nylon, which is like the bonded nylon. So if people want to try that as well, I have some of that left here. And there's 2 boats in port right now that are being unloaded. One is all the fabric. I ordered like 20 different prints of Majestic nylon and 4 or 5 of water resistant canvas. That is being unloaded right now. So I'm hoping, I paid the shipping, the way that I paid the shipping, it shouldn't have any hold up in customs. Like it's all prepaid. So I'm hoping one is being shipped, that's being shipped I think UPS, and then the webbing order that I put in is also at the dock and being shipped FedEx. So I'm hoping that both of those get there, because then I'll have even like a whole bunch more options. But these are the ones that I started. Like I said, I always try with the kits to offer a lot of options. I figure even if I cut too many, I can always sell the extras or make some myself. But I don't know. One of the things I really just hope like people are like happy in my class and that there's something that everybody likes. So that's what I've started with. I'm really excited for the waterproof cotton from Lauren to come in. When I went to Mormino So Whatever Summit in April, I had bought some waterproof cotton from Brittany from the Emporium, and I just recently sewed with that for the first time, and I love how it sewed and how it felt. So I'm hoping that other people will like it too. I've also been trying to pick fabrics that don't need to be interfaced because all the machines are domestic. So I want to make sure that the materials will be, that will work on them. And also, I'm stuffing the puffs right now for the puff quilt, and I just grab like a palm full. There's not a right or wrong. I like mine extra puffy, so I tend to put more in. You just don't want to overstuff them because you want to be able to sew them up later on, and if you put too much, you'll be sewing through the extra. So I try to take like the same handful, and then I kind of will lay it out and see if I need to add to any of them or take away. And actually I can show, so for this puff quilt, to make it easy, I prefer using charm packs. And so when I did the New York shop hop, I bought a whole bunch of charm packs. I want to get like one or two more because I put out a survey of the type of fabrics people liked, and I think most what I have will fall into most people's preferences. But one person said that they do like spooky, so I do want to grab a charm pack of that. Let me see. So these are the charm packs that I bought. I love charm packs, especially because usually it gives you one or two, sometimes more of each print in the collection. So especially if you are making a bag or something and you want a lot of variety, I like having them. And I feel like they range, charm packs range. This one was $12.99. I want to say this one was $11.99. So anywhere from like $10 to $16. It kind of depends on the line. But I have this one here, which I like all of these. This one I love because it has capybaras on it. I totally bought it for myself, but I'm like, you know what? There's so many cute designs in here. I'm gonna bring it, see if anybody likes it. And my plan is that people can mix and match, so they can pick whatever 25 squares that they want to sew up. And I love this one because it's bright, but it also has some darker colors, and it's solid, or mostly solid. It has like the paint speckles on it. This is funny. I actually bought two of this one. It's a Gradients Euphorium. You can tell this is totally my style with just like all the bright colors. And I didn't realize I actually bought one of these on the shop hop and another one when I went to a quilt show. I totally forgot I had it. How many pieces are in a charm pack? Usually this one's 42. Yeah, so far all of these are 42. I want to say that I had one before that had 48. This one here doesn't, I don't think it says how many. But yeah, usually I would say about, well, according to these, most of these are Moda though, so I don't know if that, and this one's Ruby Star. These other two are Moda and Ruby Star as well. So I want to say I've had one before that had almost 50 in it. So, hi Leona, hi Nicole. Yeah, So here's another one with floral and greens, and then another free spirit. This is the calf with all blues. So these are the ones that I have that I'm gonna bring. Yeah, I love Ruby Star too. I mean, I also picked ones that I really like, so if people don't like them, I know that they won't go to waste, that I'll be using them too. So yeah, so that's my plan for the puff quilt class in Vegas. I'm just gonna bring a whole bunch, and I hope that people will like this option where they could just mix and match and pick whatever ones that make them happy. So now that I have the bottom row, it's pretty much stuffed. So I'm going to baste it closed, but what I'm going to do is as I'm sewing it, if you weren't here last week, I'm using a charm pack, so like a 5-inch square for the top, and the back is cut to 4.5 inches. So in order to match it up, we had to pleat it. So I like to pleat it as I'm sewing. So I could spread this out, clip it, fold it in the center, and pleat it. But I'm just gonna do it all as I'm sewing. And when I do the pleats, I just like estimate the center, and I'm turning the pleat towards me. And that way, it stays in line with all the other pleats. They've all been turned towards me, so they're all kind of going the same direction. But like I was saying last week, a lot of the people who helped me test the pattern, they would clip it first, just to make sure that it basically didn't move on them. And the other thing that you want to pay attention to is we're going to start sewing these rows together. So wherever I have the seam, I want them to be nested eventually. So I'm going to make sure that all these seams are towards me as well. And then I'll make sure that the next row is opposite when I do that. So are you guys working on any projects yourself? I started hand quilting a throw size quilt, I would say. It's one of the Cotton Cuts quilts without borders on it. And I bought thread, like the sashiko and some pearl size 8 and some needles to do big stitch quilting. So I started that the other night, but it's been a really big pain in the butt trying to bury the knots. So I put a post in like a quilting group, and I got a whole bunch of cool tips and tricks. So after when I'm off, I'm gonna sit in the AC and try to do a little bit more of the hand quilting. Edge painting some pocket and purse pals. Nice. Yeah, Leona, so this is going to have a backing. I prefer to put the backing on like almost like 2 backings. One to hide all the seams, and then another that is going to create the pillowcase like envelope style. But you could totally just like completely stuff this as a pillow. I prefer to put like a insert in it, that way I can take them off and wash them and stuff. But yeah, this will all be hidden for sure. Oh, Arnetta, you always knit. Nice. Yeah, I like doing things that like keep my hands busy. So that's why I'm hoping the hand quilting on the quilt will be good. But also I just hope I have the patience to stick through with it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like it's gonna take 100 years. Oh, you cut out your first Rosie. Nice. I have not tried a Rosie. I really love making sling bags, but I don't really use a sling bag. So I tend to make a lot of crossbodies, because that's just like my go-to preference. I also really love making mini backpacks, but the same thing, I don't really use them that often, or at least not as a purse. Like, I feel like they're really good in like an amusement park, or I did like a professional development in the summer, and it was great to just like carry a couple things that I needed. Shannon's instructions are just like phenomenal. The amount of effort and time that she puts into her patterns, I really love how she writes her patterns. All right. So now what I did is I grabbed my next row, so it would be my 4th row if this is the 5th, and instead of stuffing this one and trying to sew them together, that would make it, this is one of the ways that people recommend, and I don't like it because it makes it so that it's so puffy. So what I do is I actually sew, so when I just sealed this up, I basted it. So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to nest my seams in the center and clip them, and then sew at the full 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that will attach my rows together, but also hide the basting stitch. Again, I start with every seam and just make sure that they are nested. The nice thing with the puff quilt is that if they don't line up so perfectly, because this pattern, they're puffy, it's very forgiving. And I do like to clip in the center too, just because where the pleats are, they will move a little bit, and just to make sure that I don't accidentally or I catch both my fabric on the front and the back. Yeah, the Rosy Sling is from Knotted Threads Co. And it's a bag, and it has a really great shape and a fun slip pocket on the front that you can, a lot of people will put like magnetic locks on it as like designs, or I feel like you could feature a panel. It's a lot of fun. And the pattern writer, her name is Shannon, and she is amazing. Her instructions are always top notch. Yeah, it's true about the gussets. I used to avoid bags with binding and gussets, and then I just realized, like you said, Arnetta, like a lot of clips, and also like gussets, once I started doing them, I realized that they were a lot more forgiving. I used to be so upset if my seam allowance moved too much, and I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be terrible. There's so much extra fabric right here, or it moves so much. So I've also gotten into the habit of like turning my bags out to check them first, even if the seams move a little bit, because oftentimes like it's not enough to really mess up the shape of the bag. Okay, so now that I have the 4th row, I am going to sew that at the 1/4 inch, the full seam allowance. And I just have an 80-12 needle in here. I don't know if I'll need to up it when I get to like the back and the outer layers. I'm just gonna kind of see how it goes. And as I'm sewing, because I can see the basting stitch on the top, I'm just making sure that it falls in my seam allowance, so that way it will be hidden. I guess you could always pick it out later if it does show through. But this way it saves time. Hey Meg. Hi Addie. Hi Willow. Hi Winter. I hope you girls are being good. I was talking to my sister. My nieces are having so much fun. They got a 4-pack of walkie-talkies, so they've been playing with them for the last few hours. Yeah, true, Mary Lou. Never worry about being perfect. It is true. I used to be like, oh my, like I didn't realize that if you turned it out and look at it, it might be okay. So I would just be like, oh my god, I messed up. I have to take everything out. Alright. So now that I have attached that 4th row, we can repeat the same process of stuffing them. So for me, this just makes it easier because you're never sewing 2 rows of puffs together. And I also like this method because you have the rows of them. Some of them have you sewing individual squares. I just have found that this way works much better for me, comes together quicker, and less of a headache, I guess. All right, so just grabbing the polyfill. Sometimes I've even stuffed these with I gotta look at the brand name. It's in the closet behind me. I think, what is the really popular, is it Quilter's Dream that everybody really likes? I think that might be the brand. They make a cotton stuffing. And I have my puff quilt that I use as a throw on the couch. I stuffed with cotton. And I really like it because it made it very dense and even heavier than normal. The only thing about it is that it does sometimes have like, not like the seeds, but like the shells of it. So you definitely don't want to put it in anything where you might feel it. Like I use Tula for the front and Minky for the back, and I don't feel them at all, but just something to be mindful of. Oh, Addie likes it. Thanks, Anne. You can tell her it's going to be a pillow. She likes it when I'm done. I can bring it home for her. My nieces get a lot of my bags I'm making or different things. I'm super excited. My friend Lori just gave me a short throw projector. So I just set it up the other day and downloaded the pattern projector, I think it's called. It's like a website, but there's also an app. And I cannot wait because I've been making my niece's clothes, and it will make it so much easier, so I don't have to like cut out and tape and cut like or print 40 different pages. Alright, so now I'm gonna base this again, pleating it, and I'm just making sure that my seams, because whatever weight was sewed together down here, that I'm pushing them in the same direction. My niece's Addie is going to be 10, right? Yeah. I have to do the math. Yeah, Addie will be 10 this summer, and the twins are turning 9. So they're all close in age. Aw, thanks, Leona. I'm just making sure that I'm able to pleat it. And with the puffs, I've noticed like this top pleat won't be quite as large or as thick as the side ones, and that's just because the way the fabric is puffed out. Sorry, I'm like I can't talk and sew at the same time currently tonight. And I just kind of like hold my fingers along the seam to make sure that they're being pushed the correct direction. Sometimes I don't believe that I can adjust the presser foot pressure on this machine. And so sometimes it wants to flip my seams, like with the feed dogs, in the opposite direction. So with this project, I feel like there's two things that take a lot of time. It's the first one is just sewing the different squares, like the different puffs, to get it started. And then the other thing is if you are tying this. And I'm not going to tie this one. I'm going to try to just like machine stitch it and see how that works out for me. Usually I tie it, but because that is so time consuming, I'm gonna do the machine step. Usually I use like embroidery scissors to cut my thread, and I realized that I left them out on the table when I was doing the hand quilting. Alright, so already we got 2 rows, and so now I'm grabbing my third one and again just putting it right sides together and continue nesting my seams. A puff quilt was actually like my first quilt that I ever made, and I know some people avoid them because they can be tedious and time consuming, but I love the puffiness of it, and I like blankets that are thick and like I prefer to sleep under a comforter. So even though they can be a lot of time, I really enjoy making them. Meg, actually, I don't know if you're still watching, but if Addie really likes it, we can sew one together. She can use it for her dolls and stuff. I've brought my sewing machine home a couple times and have sewed with my nieces. The last time I had them hem their shirts, because that's my least favorite part. But this summer I want to cut out a few projects, maybe like a small pouch and stuff too. Alright, and so again, I'm going to sew this at the full 1/4 inch seam allowance since it's attaching the row. I'm so happy about this one because it's such a good scrap buster, especially the backings. If you were on last week, I just cut out random square backings out of cotton fabric that I had in my scrap bin, because you're not going to see it anyways, so. Oh my gosh, Mary Lou, you're going to have so much fun. Mystic Aquarium is amazing. They have the beluga whales, and they're my favorite. It's a lot of fun. Alright. I'm just checking because right at the very, very end, I ran out of bobbin. So I am going to wind another one and then just make sure I go over that. It's about 1 inch right there. Yeah, Mystic is a great town. They have all the little shops near, it's called like Mystic Village, and that's a lot of fun to check them out. And they have like the old seaport, and Mystic is about, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes from where I grew up, just like south of where I grew up. So it's a lot of fun. Their downtown is really cute too. And this is another project, basically like when I'm quilting, like regular quilts and with the puff quilt, where I use up thread that I don't necessarily use very often. So this is like some Gutermann thread, and I don't worry about matching the color. At least with this, the fabrics aren't light enough that you're gonna see it. So I actually just used up the rest of the brown. So I'm gonna grab another roll from over here. I just have like one of those, I don't know, it's like a 20 pack or something of Gutermann, because I used to use this for bag making as well, until I switched over to the Tex 35 thread from Wizardry Stitchery. So I have quite a bit of Gutermann, so I like being able to use it when I can. Oh, the wedding in Fairfield. All right, nice. Yeah, that's close to where I am in New York. That's like not that far away. Be really nice. It's all, those are all towns along the water. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time driving, because 95 in Connecticut towards this side, towards New York, is just been, traffic is atrocious, especially during the summer months. So just definitely check your driving time. Like when I go home to visit, I always wait now till like later at night, because there's some certain parts from like the Connecticut border to Bridgeport just can back up so much with traffic. All right, perfect. So I just backstitched to hold where it ended in place, and then finished the rest of the seam. So already we've attached row 3, and the points are lining up pretty good. But like as you can see, even if they weren't perfect, especially on these rows here that are completely stuffed, you won't really notice it. All right, we'll get this row stuffed. Aw, that would be nice. You're a good grandma, Mary Lou. My parents spend a lot of time with my nieces as well, because my sister lives very close to them. Hoping that we get some nice weather this weekend. It's been so hot. I told my parents, I'm like, I want to come home and I want to go swimming. So I'm hoping that it actually stays nice so we can enjoy the pool. All right, so row 3 is stuffed. So now I'm just gonna baste that again, close. I forgot to check which way my seams were going, so I'm just making sure. And that just makes it easier to sew it because there's so many pieces of fabric coming together. It can get a little bit thick, but because of how the quilt is made, you won't really feel if the seams are not like nested or anything. It just makes it more difficult to sew. So if you forget to nest them or it flips on you, as long as your machine can go through it, then it's not really too big of a deal. So I found one of those rulers at Walmart that has like the slits in it. I guess it's like the same idea as like a stripology ruler or whatever, but they had it on clearance for like, I think it was like $5. So I bought it, and it's what I use to cut the squares for the backing. And I was so impressed with how much time it saved. Perfect. I'm just trying to pay attention because my pinks are the only one that I have 5, so I'm making sure that I keep them in the correct order. Okay. Again, we're already attaching this one. So you can see that this part comes together really, really quick. And if you were making a like a quilt, but yeah, so your backing that would hide all the seams would be the same of whatever backing you wanted your actual quilt to be. When I was making my quilt, I think I spent like 3 days of just laying the quilt out on the floor and hand tying using embroidery thread between each of the puffs. And what I did find though is that if you do want to hand tie them, I bought the curved needles that you would use for upholstery, and that made it way easier than just like a straight needle trying to go through the fabric. And especially because I was using embroidery thread, which is like a cross stitch type embroidery, not machine embroidery, so it was much thicker. And again, this one is back to our full seam allowance. So now we have row 4 attached, so now I just have to stuff this one. I'm actually going to turn it towards me since it's getting a little bit bigger now. That way I can see it easier. And again, if you're just hopping on, I'm just using polyfill and grabbing like a handful, squishes down. This part is really personal preference as far as how much you want to stuff them. So it's really funny. It's I was like, what am I feeling? I think a stuffing guide. I guess this is like a tool. It feels like wooden that you can press down. I thought it was like a what's it called? Like to keep the moisture out, one of those things. I guess I never bought a big enough bag that had that in it. That was a little surprise. You can hear the thunder getting louder. Sounds closer. Hopefully it stays away. Alright. So I'm gonna baste this row closed. Again, I'm just checking the seams on the back to make sure I'm pushing them the correct way. And as I'm sewing this, I take my, like with my left hand, I try to push the stuffing down as much as possible, just to help me be able to see. Like I already forgot which way these seams are being pushed. Yeah, Charlene, I think it is a chopstick. It says polyfill stuffing tool, but that's exactly, yeah, it's exactly what it is. I mean, I guess it makes sense, especially if you have, I could see with like a stuffed animal or something, you're trying to get like in just a tight area. I had no clue. That was, like I said, that was a surprise. I had no idea that that came with it. When you see me stopping, that's just me trying to make sure that either my seam allowance is pushed the right way and also trying to make the pleat. And I'm not measuring the exact center of the pleats, but you can see that they're pretty much like matching up just by me eyeballing it, or at least close enough to doing that. All right, so now we'll attach our last row, and it's the same exact steps that we've been doing. The only difference is we just don't have a row above it to attach. So I will just baste it close like what we've been doing. And again, I'm also clipping the centers just because the puffs, like if I don't hold it, you can kind of see where it wants to form that U shape. So that's why I'm clipping that center, making sure, because I've definitely sewn or basted a row together, sewn a row together, and have not caught that middle seam. And it's not so bad if you catch it right away, but if you catch it later on and then it's all puffy and you have to try to fix it, that's when it can become a pain. So I'm gonna sew this one, since I'm attaching the row, it's the full seam allowance. And I'm so happy because one of my goals this summer is to try to use not just my like scraps, but just like fabric that I have that's been sitting here. So I'm happy that with this project, it's exactly what I'm doing. And especially for the back of the puffs, I never, like in my own personal projects, never use like a really expensive fabric because you're not going to see it. So as long as it will hold up, it's great. Okay, awesome. So that is going to be my top row. I'm really happy because I didn't accidentally mix up any of the rows. And I'm just going to stuff this last one. And I cut out some cotton canvas, not super stiff, like a duck cloth cotton canvas that I've had extra of, which I think will work fine for backing because I prefer to actually like use the puffy part to like lay on or whatnot. So even though the canvas is a little bit of a rougher texture, it's for me it's not going to be a problem. And especially if this ends up with my niece and it ends up her pillow or her doll bed. Alright, so this is the top row, so I'm just basting this closed just like what we did for the others. I love when the seams are being like nested towards me. It just makes it so much easier to sew, and I don't have to worry so much about making sure that they don't flip back over on itself. So that puts our top row all done. So this is gonna be our pillow top. So what I do next is I want to hide all these seams because I don't want to see this. I don't want threads like coming off constantly. So normally I just take like a really big piece of fabric that's bigger and lay it down. If I were to stretch out if you were to stretch out the puffs and they were laying flat, it would measure 21 inches across. So you could measure it out completely, or what I kind of like to do is just let the puffs naturally sit and just make sure it's going to cover up everything. And I'm just going to put a few clips around the edge. I'm not sewing the edge, or not sewing it yet. What I'm going to do is, this is the part where we would tie the quilt between the puffs, but I'm going to try to machine tack it down and see if that works. Also, I don't know if I mentioned, but this pattern that I'm using, this method is I wrote this method and it's free. So in my, depending what you're watching on, whether it's the bio or description, it is not on my regular sewmajestic.com website because that is run through Etsy and I can't put anything for free. But I have a Sew Majestic pre-order site, which is through Shopify. So if you search like sewmajestic.shopify.com, I think is what it is. Or in my bio, it's like you can see a link to it. You can click. You can get the pattern for free. So if it's something that you're interested in trying in this method, using like the charm pack and how I stuff them together. All right. So I just clipped far enough around to kind of hold this in place. And normally what I would do is take embroidery, like hand embroidery thread and curved needles. These are curved upholstery needles. And I would literally like sit here and go from corner to corner, hook it through, tie it. But that is very tedious and time consuming. So for something like this, you really don't even, if you didn't want to put this, you wouldn't even need to do that. This is so small, it's not going to come apart. And if you don't care about seeing the back, you wouldn't even need to do this step. But what I'm going to do is between, not every square, just like every couple squares, just backstitch forward and back in the seam to try to just kind of like hold this in place. And I have orange thread in the top. I didn't think about that when I was doing this, but there's some oranges in here. So again, I'm just going to do a couple stitches and it's just to hold it in place. So it's okay if the orange shows, or at least to me, it's okay. And I could see that this would be so much easier if I had a machine that like automatically cut the thread for me. So you can see like on the front and the back, I'm cutting the thread right now. So on the back, it just looks like that. You can see like the little bit of the tack. And on the front, I did it right in the, like stitch in the ditch. So like I can see the orange because I'm literally looking for it. But I don't think that once this is all puffed out, you're going to see that at all. So I'm just gonna add a couple stitches, maybe like 2, like I just did over here, so I'm gonna do on this side. Just like I said, to hold that backing in place and hide the back side of the puffs. I cut my thread. Again, it's like a repeat of last week. I cut it too short, so I'm rethreading it. Hopefully I don't have a problem with it looping like last week. And so if I was making my puff quilt, like as a quilt, not a pillowcase, this would be my quilt backing. So when I did this with the throw, I put the minky. So the outside, like facing out, was the furry side. And I was hand tying between that and the minky. I also did not put any batting between the layers. That's kind of like a personal choice with like a puff quilt too. Because I did the cotton stuffing for my quilt and minky, I felt like it was heavy enough and like thick enough. But again, it's all personal preference. There's really like no wrong way to make the puff quilt as long as you are happy with the outcome. And there's a lot of different methods on, you can find so many videos on YouTube, or just by searching, and you can find different methods and like which one might work best for you. And basically the method I'm using was a mishmash of multiple tutorials that I watched, and then put what I liked about each of them into my own method. Which is one of the reasons why I kept this pattern free on my pre-order site, because I was inspired by so many different people. And you can see that I have put 2 tacks here, 1, 2, and then 2 more here, 3, 4. So I'm just gonna do probably another 2 and 2 from this side, and then I'm gonna baste around. So again, because it's so small, you don't need to tack it down between every single square. Have any of you ever tried a puff quilt or something that you're interested or thinking about trying? Oh my god, I pulled the bobbin thread so long on that one. Alright, I think actually instead of 2, I'm just going to do 1 more right here. For time, and like I said, it's small enough that it's going to hold it into place and cover everything. At first I thought I like did something wrong, but my bobbin thread was just that long that. Alright. So now, again, what I could do is, you don't have to sew the edges. I'm going to just sew them, trying to be mindful, just kind of baste it together. And the other thing is that the puff quilt might, like, if you stretch it, it will stretch out to the 21 inches. I'm just kind of going to let my foot feed it and not stretch it. It's okay that it is puffy. It's going to be okay if it's not perfectly flat. This is going to be hidden inside of the pillowcase because it's going to be envelope style. So it's not a huge problem if things shift too much. It's a super great stash buster, Arnetta. Charlie, that's funny. Yeah, I feel like people either really hate them or love them. And it's funny because I like them because I like the puffiness to it, like the heaviness. Growing up, the only quilts that I was really familiar with were the ones that were like super flat with a lot of quilting, and I was always like, that doesn't look comfy. So that's when, as I've gotten older, I also learned about like the different lofts in batting and how you can achieve those different looks. But I totally can understand how the look of it might not be so appealing. And I'm just kind of like letting this feed through on its own. Because of the puffiness, just like with the pleats, the edges are all gonna blend into themselves as well. How I finish it? Yeah, so if I was making this as a quilt, when I attached the minky, I left the edges and I literally just folded it over and turned it into a binding. As soon as I'm done basting it for this, I have 2 pieces cut out here that I'm gonna make the envelope style of for the backing. But just to make my life easier, I'm just basting all this down instead of trying to make sure I catch all the layers at the end. So it's almost done. And what's nice about this too is that once you have the steps down and like you understand the process, like you can just kind of like it, I don't say it becomes mindless, but it definitely for me becomes one of those sewing projects that I don't really have to think about, and I can just go to my machine and like just really enjoy sewing. I got my attention, Minky. I love Minky fabric. I back all my puff quilt pillowcases with Minky, but for this one, I'm teaching the class in Vegas at the end of the month, and I asked people if they preferred Minky or cotton woven, and there's a few people that want cotton woven. So even though like when I tested the pattern, my testers tested it with cotton woven, I only make them for the most part with Minky. So I want to make sure that what I'm telling them I've done. So for this one, I am sewing it with the cotton. I don't know if Jason is still listening, but if he is, I have one with Minky on the couch. I can also go grab it when I'm done too to show you. All right, last side. And so when I'm cutting the backing, I've made so many that when I have made them, my width without stretching it usually comes to about 18.5 inches. So that's what I cut my backing to. But you might not want to cut your backing until you finish your puff quilt top, because you don't want to cut it too big and then it be like baggy, and then you'll have like the envelope style will kind of like pucker out. All right. So I just basted all the way around. I have some looping on the bottom. It's not like a huge deal because it was just a basting stitch, but I am going to see if I need another bobbin. I'm gonna grab another bobbin just to make sure it's full, because I don't want to run out in the last step. And also I'm going to top stitch the envelope pocket, so I grabbed a gray one because maybe that will match a little bit better. So I have two pieces cut. When I'm using the Minky, I just usually fold it over about an inch, especially because Minky slips, and because it's a raw edge, it doesn't matter so much. But because this is cotton, it will fray. So I want to double fold it. What did I do over here? So I'm just going to, it's not going to be perfect. I'm just going to trace out a 1/2 inch and fold it down, and then like fold it over on itself, so I don't have that raw edge. And this is definitely like, don't follow me in this part of hemming, because that is my least favorite part. I'm just doing this so I don't have the raw edge in the envelope style. But with Minky, I've totally only just folded this under the whole inch and just sewed it. And you only need to do this, I have this cut, so it's 18 inches wide and 15 inches tall. And then the second piece here is 18.5 inches wide and also, or 12 inches tall on this one. And that's because these are gonna overlap. So I wanted to make sure that I have enough space that once I hem them, or like fold them, you know, so I don't have the raw edge, that I still have space. And some of the people that tested it for me even put snaps on to hold the envelope style together too. So that's another option you'll see at the end. So what I'm going to do is basically just top stitch both of these so it holds it in place, and then put these right sides together with the top of the puff quilt. And then when we turn them right side out, we'll have the envelope style on the back. Alright, so close enough without like me pressing it or anything like that. The other thing that I'm going to do is, because my bobbin thread is gray, I'm actually going to top stitch these from the back side. And really I just want to make sure that my that it's not a raw edge. So the orange will be on the back. I was just checking that on the front side that it looked okay. And this would look like so much cleaner if I had actually pressed this, or they have like the wash away hem tape or whatnot. But just for time, and like I said, this is just for me, so I didn't do any of that. But if I were selling this or anything, I definitely would want to take that time. So now I'm just trimming these apart, and we're on our last step. And so you can see, just so that way there's no raw edge. Alright, so I want my puff quilt pillowcase right side facing up, and I'm going to put my pieces right side facing down. So I want the larger piece to kind of be like the outside on the back. So you're going to line it up with the corners and the top and the left and the right side. And my raw edge is toward the bottom. And so now I'm doing the same thing with this smaller bottom piece, but I'm going to do it so my raw edge is towards the top, and the hem side's towards the top, and then the raw edges are along the bottom and the left and the right side. And the first thing I do is, there's definitely overlap on the side here where it can get kind of thick. So I always clip where that overlap happens first. So to show you on this side, I clipped where one hem is here, one hem where there's the raw edge, no raw edge, and then over here as well. And so once I have that, and you also want to make sure that it's kind of straight. A walking foot probably would help, so this doesn't shift so much. Again, that is not so noticeable if you're using minky, but with cotton woven, or especially if you're using a printed cotton woven, that would be more likely to show. And so now our last step is to just sew all the way around the pillowcase. When I just did it, it was just to close up everything. My normal stitching length or seam allowance length when I was putting the rows together was a 1/4 inch. But for this outside, I actually like to up it to a 1/2 inch, just to make sure that I am catching everything. And that's because this is like the bulkiest part. Also, if you're using minky, because of the furry edges of the minky, sometimes it's tricky, and a 1/4 inch is just so small. So I prefer to do that 1/2 inch. It doesn't really matter where you start. I'm just gonna start in the top right hand corner, just because that's what's kind of close to me right now. Back stitch at the beginning and the end, and I'm just going to sew this all the way around real quick. And because I am doing the 1/2 inch seam allowance, it is sewing through the polyfill a little bit. You could do your best to try to either push it away or just squish it down. Because it's polyfill, it's not really giving me a problem sewing through it. My bigger problem that I'm having is just trying to make sure that I maintain that 1/2 inch seam allowance. And again, because it's puffy with like the little U shape in it, I probably should put more clips, but I have to grab them off the other table, so. Hi Gail, how are you? And actually, if you had a serger that could handle the thickness, you could actually serge the edges. That would give a really nice professional finish, because otherwise this is just going to be a raw, like the raw edge here. Or you could use binding to finish it, because, and I mean, to give it that nice clean finish. But because it's on the inside, I don't do either. I don't usually do binding. And this one I think my serger would handle, but with the Minky, I don't think it would. I think it would be too thick. And because I'm doing the 1/2 inch seam allowance and it's a little bit thicker, I don't have to worry so much about catching all my edges. I'm pretty sure I'm catching everything because it's such a thicker seam allowance. On the cotton cuts, what is the color cards? So the color, like the ones, do you mean the ones that you color in, like actually like a coloring book type thing? If it's those, they have a monthly challenge where each month you can either sew up the block that coloring card shows you, or you can sew up the block or color that in, and then you can win some prizes. Actually, I think I have a stack of them in the living room that when I grab the puff quilt with Minky, I will grab them to show you. Alright, so this is where I'm talking about if you wanted to put the binding, you could. If you wanted to, like I said, serge it. I also don't trim it down just to kind of give it its structure. You could also use I can't think of the name of the scissors right now, with like the serrated edge, so it looks like the little teeth. That would keep everything from fraying. Oh, Gail, yes, it is the ones that look like a coloring book. I'll show you in 1 second. All right, so now our last step, if you don't want to put the binding, you want to leave everything raw like I'm doing, you're literally just turning this right sides out. And then I'm just making sure I poke out my corners. All right, I probably could poke them out a little bit more, but things aren't out of pinking shears. I could not think of that to save my life. Yes, if you have pinking shears, that would work great. Okay, so this is what it looks like from the front. And then from the back, we now have that envelope. So you see, it is a little bit, like there's a little bit of an extra here, but don't forget you're gonna slip a pillow insert So it gives you that space where it would fill it out. And then because we put that other piece of fabric and did some tacking, that when we open this, even though you'll probably never look at this, especially if you're not the person changing the pillow, you won't see the backing, but it hides it to give you that nice finish inside. All right, I will be right back. I'm gonna go grab the puff quilt pillowcase with Minky on it to show you, and also the coloring cards. I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, if you can hear me, I'm back in the room. I'm just searching for the coloring cards that I thought I had. Alright, sorry about that. So here is the finished one that I sewed up. If you go on my YouTube channel, I have the full-length tutorial with timestamps. This is the one that I sewed up for that tutorial. And so you can see the back has the Minky. And if you wanted, this is where some people have kind of put a snap. For me, I don't have like that much gaping or anything, so it's not a problem. But I like it. That way you could actually use this side if you wanted, or the puffy side. And you can see, I think you can maybe can see that between each of them, I have like some embroidery thread. Yes, Charlene, so there's a pillow form inside. If you didn't want to put a pillow form, doing this step here, so you can see on this one where there are all the individual ties holding it through. If you wanted to just stuff it with all polyfill, you could do the same thing, like cut your back a solid, sew on 3 sides and leave like a turning opening. And then what I would do, turn it right side out, stuff your pillow as much as you want, and then just put your seams, like tuck them in and hide, like stitch along to close it. You could absolutely do that too. I just like this one, so that way if I wanted to wash them or whatnot, I could do that. This one is a pillow from IKEA. It says 20 inches by 20 inches. The IKEA ones are not so puffy, but if you get a puffier one, I would recommend like an 18 or even a 16. And so also, so you can see here with the Minky, you can see that I just folded it over once because it doesn't fray. So that's the difference between the Minky and then what I just did right here with the cotton woven. Oh, Gail, that's so awesome. So one of the first puff quilts I saw was from like Lo and Behold Stitchery, and I think she does 4-inch down to 3.5, and I was like, I knew I did not have the patience to go that small. Oh, Charlene, you like it with Minky? Yeah, Minky's my favorite. I just love the softness, the texture. This one was actually, this is for a Shannon Minky, and it was left over from like a throw size blanket that I had did, so it worked out great. And then what Gail's asking about is, so I'm an ambassador for Cotton Cuts, which is like a block of the month puzzle mystery quilt, they call it. So you don't know what the quilt looks like at the end. You have to be comfortable with, you know, the unknown. You pick a colorway, and then each month your block of the month is, they call it a clue, and you start putting your pieces together. So I'm an ambassador for that, and their new one, they do 2 each year, spring and the fall, and their fall one is starting to ship the end of this month. So they have on there an option that are these cards here. What is it called? Color cards is what they call them. And so, let me see. This one came, this is what we're doing now. So this was for February of 2025. And you can see it's like their heart block. So they give you the measurements and colors here. So each month you can sew up a block and post it on their Facebook group, or on the backhand side there, it's literally like coloring, like a coloring book, where you could color it in and post it, and you can get a prize as well. So it tells you what month to post it by, and then there's a hashtag CC Color Challenge. So if you're interested in the puzzle mystery quilt, one of the options where for the prepaid box is, do you want the color cards? And if you do, they'll ship them to you all in the box just like this. Or you can get like a slight discount, takes a couple dollars off if that's not something you're interested in. So I hope that helps, Gail. And I really appreciate all of you. I know usually I like to be an hour, but tonight's an hour and a half. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I hope you love how it turned out. I am very, very happy with it. We'll see if my niece ends up claiming it. I also like that it's not directional fabric, so you can, you know, move it whichever way. Again, and if you're interested in the method of how I do this, if you go on my regular YouTube channel, I have a video for it, and there's also the links where you can download this pattern for free. Okay, Gail, good. I'm glad it helped. Yeah, that's what it's referring to. It's just another fun thing that Cotton Cuts does for engagement and participation. So, thank you so much, Charlene. All right, guys, I hope you have a great night. Next Tuesday, I should be on. I guess I'll update. I might have to put it a little bit earlier. I'll let you guys know. I will probably be cutting class kits for Sewcations, which I'll be teaching at the end of the month. So thank you guys for hopping on with me. As always, I really look forward to Tuesday nights. Appreciate everybody chatting, and I hope you guys all stay cool and that you're safe, because with this crazy storms coming through. And I hope you have a good night, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.